दो ही खोलना है प्रभु, दो, बिकॉज प्रभु विल सिट ऑन टॉप ना.
I heard it from you.
Oh, okay, that's why I recognize it.
प्रभु करो, चालू करो, मुझे टेस्टिंग भी हो जाएगा.
Oh, platform.
माइक में कुछ बोलो, माइक में कुछ बोलो.
Oh my God. Mute it. Press it. One press.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare
आने के बाद कैमरा वहाँ पे
Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare
thank him for this tune because I learned it from him from his Kirtan, 24-hour Kirtan at Vrindavan. This is an offering to you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna devotees, thank you everyone for joining us for tonight's Krishna Katha here. We are very fortunate to have among us His Grace Mukundatta Prabhu and Her Grace Sri Murti Mataji. They live, as you all know, they don't need any introduction. They stay in Vrindavan, and wherever they go, they bring the Vrindavan with them. So we are so fortunate. So let's give them a warm welcome and a big round of applause.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Name Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी Jaya Gopi Jana Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijagacharya Ashtotarshada Shri Srimad Shila Kaichanarayan Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai Nama Acharya Shila Thakur Haridas ki jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Gordhan ki jai Vrindavan Dham ki jai Svati Mayapur Dham ki jai Ganga Devi ki jai Manamai ki jai Bhakti Devi ki jai Tulsi Rani ki jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai Shri Hari Nama Sankirtana ki jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai ISKCON BBT Samsthapaka Acharya ki jai His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. Shri Shri Krishna Balarama ki jai. Shri Shri Lalita Vishakha Sahita Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Madana Mohana ki jai. Go Premanande, all glories to the Son of the Lord Jesus, all glories to the Son of the Lord Jesus, all glories to the Son of the Lord Jesus, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Like that pastime of Mother Shachi Devi. She saw Gauri Tiger standing there, and she saw Krishna Balaram on the altar. And Gauri Tai came and said, "Hey, you guys are out. This is our age." Conceivable pastime. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurvamilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishram Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Tadamayam Dadati Svadatriyam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udvarakamadam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sarvadam Sarvadam Sajivam Sadhaitam Sadhutam Parisanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sarvanavita Shri Vishakhanvitam Hey Krishna Paramahasindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopikanta Radhavanta Namostute Tavasamanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Hariye Vanchakalparvasya yapi gopala swikuryat kripaya yadi tadaiva sampayah pitva hrishyayustat priyajanaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. We were asked to speak about Vrindavan Leela. Does anybody have any specific questions about Vrindavan or Vrindavan Leela? Sometimes nobody has any questions. Who was the person who asked me to speak on this? So anyway, sometimes people ask me, what is it like to live in Vrindavan? I always tell them two words: harsh bliss. Not very easy to live in Vrindavan. Everybody thinks that they want to go and live in Vrindavan until they get there. It's like when I was in college, every year there would be, 20, 25 people would apply for the Sanskrit class, and by the end of the class, there was maybe 3. Because, they think they want to learn Sanskrit until they, Sandhi, okay, what's that? So, it's, Vrindavan is a harsh bliss, because you can't get there until your heart is purified. And if you try to get there with an impure heart, let's put away our cell phones. I didn't bring mine, sorry. But let's all turn them off. As our esteemed leader Vaisheshika Prabhu said last night, anybody gets caught with a cell phone ringing, you have to sponsor one full set of Srila Prabhupada's books.
Turn off.
It's a very good idea, very good policy. It's like Prabhupada. Anybody here from Kanpur? Leather tanning capital of the world, perhaps? All that stuff, filthy stuff that they do from tanning leather, all goes into the Ganga. It's the #1 pollutant in the Ganga. Leather tanning. And anyway, it's among the older people, it's maybe known for the JK temple, J&K temple? Yeah, so famous temple. So the matron of that family, she had an standing policy. If anybody in the family doesn't come to Mangalarti, they have to pay a fine. Mothers can do that. You can't, whatever the mother says, that goes. Anyway, so how did we get on this topic?
Vrindavan.
Yeah, Vrindavan is not so easy place to live. People think they want to live there until they try it for more than a few weeks, or a few days, or a few weeks at a time. I was talking to, anyone know Manas Goswami from Radharaman Temple? Yeah, okay. A musician, very capable boy. He was on India's Got Talent once. A very, very good singer. I mean, he's very good. So we were talking about Vrindavan, and he said, the thing is that Vrindavan, any place you go, it's good at a certain time of year. Like, people go to Uti when it's too hot, right? Or they go to, wherever they go. Hill stations in the hot season, it's a relief. And winter time, I know myself, I flee to South India because it's just too cold in Vrindavan. So, but he said in Vrindavan, every season is a challenge to live there. Every season. Allergies in this time of year, which is why I'm here. Too hot in the summer, at least for Sri Murti. And in the fall, Kartik, then you get pollution, major pollution. Actually, the reason they outlawed fireworks is because too many people in Delhi were dying every year. And, they're burning crops there, and people like me who have asthma, it just, it will kill us. It did kill Gopi Pranadhana, frankly, I have to say this. He had asthma, and maybe he had worse than that. Any doctors here? No doctors, all IG. International Telugu. आजकल अमेरिका में तेलुगु का आक्रमण हो रहा है Taskar, Dunwoody, Georgia, man? Anybody been to Alpharetta, Georgia? Atlanta? Yeah, you know all about it. So, you can't find a white guy on the streets there. You can't find him. Nabbe Pratishat Bharati alone, or usme, 85% is going to be Telugu. Courtesy Visa Balaji. Anybody from Hyderabad already knows what that means. You're probably here by his grace. He's got a plan, because once you get here, then Mohotsaha. Hare Krishna. If you see these books. Anyway, we were saying that every year every season is a challenge there, and then after the Kartik season, you get winter is too cold, and then it keeps going like that, and then everybody's trying to cheat you, and the crowds are 300% what they were before the pandemic. 300% increase. Panchagoda had to go and talk to the GTD to say, well, what do we do about this? Like Ram Lala, anybody been to Ayodhya yet? You've been. Shabash. I've not gone myself, but Ram Bhaktas cannot restrain themselves. They've got to go and see him. When I look at his picture, at least to me, he looks like Guru Vairappa. Everybody sees what they see, but 1.5 lakhs every day. 2 lakhs every day. So anyway, Vrindavan is the supreme abode of Lord Krishna's eternal pastimes. Krishna, of course, is Swayam Bhagavan, we know from Srimad Bhagavatam. No less an authority than Srimad Bhagavatam tells us, Ete changsha kadaha pungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indradi Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Mridayanti, what does it mean? Mridayanti.
Saving.
Huh?
Saving.
Yeah, he comes again and again. And to pacify the devas, because they're harassed all the time. If you try to be a deva in this world, you're going to get harassed. This is why we say, if you want to learn how to be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, ready to give all respects to others and not expecting any honor for yourself, if you're interested in that, go out on Sankirtana. And Krishna will help. And it is Krishna. It's not an attack by Maya. This is what someone recently called, I think, Arta Pravritti. You all heard about that. Anyway, that's another matter. But there's a positive side to everything. This is the point. Even the difficulties of life in this, it's not like the Bay Area is easy to deal with either, is it? I mean, there's plenty of difficulties here. Everywhere you have to undergo austerities, but Prabhupada said, Rishabhadev said, Tapo divyam putrapayena sattvam shutyed yasmad shutyed brahmasaukyam. If you're going to do austerities anyway, then why not do some austerities that are going to elevate you to a position of eternal happiness that can't be taken away from you? There's only one reason that I can think of, and that is aparadha. You have to be very careful, because when we try to enter Vrindavan Dham with a mind that still thinks like a dog, then we act like dogs and we commit offenses, and then we take birth as dogs. There's 8,400,000 non-human options of devotional service available in Vrindavan Dham. And because Krishna is very kind. Anybody who dies there, you go back to Godhead, but he doesn't say what form. There are stories like this, people who were unsuccessful in devotional service, and you take birth as a ghost, and you all gather with your friends and perform ghostly Harinam Sankirtan. If you're chanting with offenses, if you're satisfied with Namapasa, then you get Namapas. Why would Krishna give you more than what you want? So what do you really want? This is the question. And when we go to Vrindavan, then it becomes, you can't escape it. Everywhere you go, there's a mirror right in front of you. And it drives you crazy. If you're attached to those anartas, Prabhupada Swami put it very nicely a few years back in Seattle when I was visiting there. He said, the nature of bhakti, Hey, are you doing something for this lecture or what?
I'm taking notes.
Notes should be in here, not there. That thing can be erased in a second. Prabhupada didn't even allow ladies to make garlands in class, right? We tolerate it. Prabhupada didn't tolerate it. Every time he heard anything that you hear on the tapes, if you're listening to Prabhupada, how many people are listening to Prabhupada's lectures every day? Just see. 1, 2, I counted 3. Maybe you're just shy 4. Certainly not this whole room. Think about it. Why are you singing? Guru Mukha Padma Bhaku Chite Te Koriya Adana Koriyo Mani Asha. If you're not willing to turn on the recording and listen. You don't mean it. Hypocrisy. That's the number one cause of faithlessness in this world. Anyway, that's my chastisement for the night. Where were we now? Vrindavan. Yes, Vrindavan is such a place that everything is exposed to you, right in front of your face, about yourself. You can't run away and hide from your anarthas. Here, Mahamaya will help you do that. In Vrindavan, there's no Mahamaya. There's only Yogamaya. And she may, if she allows you to do that, you'll just be taken out, because that's offensive. But if you're a little sincere but attached, then she's going to show you everything. She's going to show you everything. And that can be overwhelming. As I was saying, Ramapad Swami spoke about Bhakti Devi. The nature of Bhakti Devi is that, what does she do? She removes, what does she remove? Yeah, she removes all anarthas. So if you're clinging to all of your anarthas, when Bhakti Devi removes them, then what's going to happen? You will be removed along with them. Or you will, if you're dedicated to staying in Vrindavan with your anarthas, then you will stay in Vrindavan with your anarthas, but not as a human being. And you can still engage in devotional service. They're all doing it. Ants, squiggly wiggly bugs and worms, and as I said, there's 8,400,000 devotional options in Vrindavan Dham. But if you want to be a gopi, you have to act like a gopi, and you cannot act like a gopi unless you think like a gopi. So, the process of chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Again, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. That is meant to gradually transform our hearts such that when we're hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we can actually act on what we hear. Or when we're hearing Srila Prabhupada, if we hear Srila Prabhupada, then we can actually act on what he says. And that's not so easy thing when you're a conditioned soul. We're really attached. Prabhupada calls it dogged determination to avoid surrender. Anyway, somehow or other, if we get the pure devotee's mercy, anybody's mercy, I'm praying for anybody's mercy I can get, including yours, so please be kind to me. But if we somehow just get some mercy from Bhagavan or his representatives, then we can maybe have a chance of utilizing this human form of life for what it's worth. I say all the time, Jabalagatana mein tapana vyatai, tabalagat hari hari seva. While you can, as long as you have a good working mind and body, use it in Krishna service before you lose it, because you will lose it soon, sooner than you'd like. Now we're all bereft of the association of Gopal Krishna Goswami. Look what he did with his life. That's what we should always remember. And then we should look at ourselves. Vrindavan helps you to do that, as I said. And then just consider, have I made the right choices? What do I really want? This is the real thing. We really have to understand, what do I really want? Because the holy name will give you what you want. It may not give you what you pray for. He's going to give you what you want. And, that's why we just really have to beg. Even if we don't want pure love of God, even if we realize that we don't want pure love, that's a good step, actually. If you realize that I'm not that sincere, then we can pray to become sincere. Jai Pataka Swami, he's like the last man standing of the first generation, really heavyweights. Now in ISKCON. He gave a famous lecture in, I think, 1978 or 9, in which he was quoting, so many of our acharyas have said the same thing, but he said very nicely, if you don't love Krishna, then you should cry out to Krishna. And if you can't cry for Krishna, then you should cry over the fact that you cannot cry for Krishna. And if you can't do that, then you should cry that you cannot cry for Krishna. And if you can't do that, you should cry that you cannot cry for Krishna. Adi, adi, adi. This is the idea. Everybody can do this. It's just a question of math. How many steps removed are you? But you can cry. Everybody can do this. You just have to be sincere. One disciple asked Srila Prabhupada, how do we become sincere? Because Prabhupada, you'll notice, again, only if you're reading Prabhupada's letters, only if you're actually studying these things, because if you want to go back to Godhead, you need this information. You have to know, how did Prabhupada apply these abstract principles in, concrete reality in the 20th century, in practical affairs. His letters are a great source of practical guidance and information about devotional service. So if you read them, you'll see that there are 2 adjectives with which Srila Prabhupada describes sincere disciples, good disciples. What are they? Anybody want to say something about this? Anybody who studied those letters? If Vaisheshika were here, he could do it. If Brigupati were here, he could do it. I've heard them say it. So who can tell me, what are the 2 things that Prabhupada says, letter after letter after letter after letter, that you have to be, not what you have to do, what you have to be, in order to become Krishna conscious? Anybody want to say something? Okay, too many kids at once. You got to raise your hand, maybe. No. Nope. Sincere, that's one of them. What's the other one?
Intention?
Nope.
Humility.
Humility? No.
Serious.
Serious and sincere. Very, very serious and sincere. Anybody, anywhere, no matter what your status is, you can be sincere about what you're doing. You can. And the holy name increases that inclination. Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, all of our books, they give us practical directions for the intelligence only. But what about the mind? Because that intelligence won't work until you flip the switch, right? We said the other day. Well, what are the 2 functions of the mind? Sankalpa and Vikalpa. Yes or no? That's it. That's all the mind does. The mind says yes. This gets in? No, it doesn't. The mind's like a bouncer. In Russia, they have face control, right? They don't like the way you look, you're out. If you don't look cool, you can't come in, period. Anyway, so this is the thing. The mind is just going to accept or reject whatever it hears. So what's going to make you hear something and act on that thing? That is only the holy name. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Iva Kevalam, Halavanasyeva, Nasyeva, Nasyeva, Gatiranyatha. We talked about humility a moment ago. Somebody said humility also. Yes, humility. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's formula. But it's not Prabhupada's formula. I mean, it is, but, Prabhupada, in his letters, he often says this. We should take note of that. You have to be very serious and sincere, and no matter how fallen you are, you can become sincere. Anybody in any condition can do this. So this is, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra will increase the likelihood that we can make that choice. But let me actually do what Prabhupada says. When I sing every day and people see me and record me and put it on YouTube that I'm here singing, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Koriyaki, now I've got to do something about it. I've got to show that I'm actually taking it seriously. And I've got to open the books. Austerity of knowledge, did we ever talk about that here? Okay. Chapter 4, text number 10, who can tell it to me? Bhagavad Gita. Loud. Okay, everybody. What does that mean? What does it mean, actually? Many people have become purified by the austerity of knowledge. What is that austerity of knowledge? I heard a lecture a week or so ago, a few weeks ago actually, and Prabhupada said very clearly, he was talking about austerity. And he said, austerity, our austerity, he said, we don't try to sit, inside of a circle of 5 fires in April. In Hyderabad. And, we don't sit in an ice cold water up to the neck in January. This is not austerity for us. On this bhakti path, Prabhupada said, our austerity is very simple. That austerity is Tranada Pisuni Chena Turora Vasishnana Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadaharihi. Because in fact, it's easier to sit in a circle of 5 fires in Hyderabad in April than it is to actually purify our subtle body of this false ego. So stubborn this false ego is. So, Prabhupada said that's our austerity. So the austerity of knowledge is, for one thing, we have to take whatever little faith we have, and you wouldn't be sitting here tonight unless you have some faith. So we take that and we invest it in good association, and it's understood what happens when you're in sadhu sangha. Next one. And bhajana kriya begins with? Bhajana kriya itself begins with hearing. One verse that Prabhupada spoke from Bhagavad Gita more than any other verse. Bhakti Shastri's here, please.
7.1.
Yes. Therefore I asked you, what do you want? If you want Krishna, you hear. And if we're serious and sincere, we hear. If we're more humble than a blade of grass, even if we're not humble, more humble than a blade of grass, still, we just hear. And by hearing begins everything. Because if you hear long enough, and if you come, enough days, 365 times, say 10, 20 years, that's hearing a lot of times the same thing. If we're listening, sometimes, people are not really paying attention. And that's big part of the problem. But if we're hearing these words, and if we believe in these words, that Sri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakti Sadhana. Everybody comes to Vrindavan, since we're supposed to be talking about Vrindavan. I am talking about Vrindavan, but I will have to explain how I'm talking about Vrindavan. That people come to Vrindavan looking for, they think, they're looking for spiritual advancement. So where do they head first? Ras Bihari Lal bookstore. And they pick up, the most inscrutable thing that they can find, the most inaccessible book possible, maybe Govinda Leelamrita or something like that. You're not going to get anything out of that, Baba. Kyonki Shri Guru Charana Padma Keval Bhakti Sadma. Kevala Bhakti Sadma. We talked about sadmas. Was it here we talked about Chintamani Prakara sadmas in the spiritual world? My house? Maybe it was in Sacramento. Yeah. I have a house in Vrindavan. You know what that house is made out of? Clay? What else? Chintamani. In fact, it's Chintamani Prakara sadma. And outside of my house, there's a champa tree. What kind of tree is that? Kalpavriksha. And just around the corner, there's a Goshala full of cows, one of whose name is Saraswati. Anybody here know Saraswati? She's famous in the NVT. Very sweet cow. In the more than a decade I'm living in NVT, I have never once heard that cow utter a peep. Not one thing has she ever said. She's quiet all the time, happy all the time. She's old, she's wise. We should become like that. Well, we will become old, but we should become wise also. Otherwise, we may end up as cows in Vrindavan. And that's okay. If you're satisfied with that, it's okay. Some people say the cows are in Vatsalya Bhav because they give their milk to Krishna. Other people say they're Shantarasa. It's hard to say. Anyway, so the spiritual master's lotus feet in this way is just like the house. It's the only place where bhakti resides. The spiritual master's lotus feet. You're not going to find it anywhere. You don't want it anywhere else. It takes people 30 or 40 years to realize that. Well, maybe if I just went to the Gaudiya Math, or maybe if I just changed my sampradaya, or maybe if I just, go and hear from the Radhakund Babaji's, or maybe if I become a Ritvik, or if I just, this or that concoction we come up with year after year after year, and then finally after 40 years when none of it works, and we recognize who we really are, then we finally think, well, maybe it's true after all. Adau Shraddha. It's Kali Yuga. It's hard to push a spiritual movement in Kali Yuga. But Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet are there. And it should be that we have this realization that Jahara Prasade Bhaye Bhavatorya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoite. Once I was in Govardhan Hill, at the southern end of the hill. Anybody know where Apsarakund is? Yeah, and about the Narasimha temple. Yeah, very, very beautiful deity of Narasimha. Our host, I think you're from Maharashtra. Yeah? You've been to Pune Sadashiv Pate, the Narasimha temple, do you know?
No, I've never been there.
Oh, okay. Anybody here from Pune? You know the Narasimha? Yeah, you took me there, no? I think so, yeah. Anyway, I was in the Narasimha temple. He looks a little bit like that. At Govardhan Hill, he's looking very cute. Not Ugra at all. Very happy. Shanta Narasimha. Yeah. So we go there and do some seva for the pujari sometimes. But so this Narasimha Dev temple, I was fortunate. One year I went with Govinda Charan and company and IDS Sangha. Are they here tonight? Rasika? Yeah, you remember this. We were there. Govinda Charan was holding the speaker on his lap the entire time. That's his character. Do you remember that? I remember it. I noticed. It made an impression on me. This is why we have to be Krishna conscious, because people are seeing everything we do. Even you even have no idea that anybody's even seeing you, what to speak of making an impression. All you have to do is come and bow down to the deity with any modicum of sincerity, and somebody sees you do that, it may touch them. Because Krishna's in charge of their heart, and he, if he wants to give them some inspiration, he can do that. Anyway, so Govinda Charan made an impression on me that year, but that's not my point. My point is that in that temple, Indrajita Maharaj was giving a lecture, and he explained very nicely, do you remember? No, okay. He explained very nicely that, when I first came to Vrindavan, I saw this Narasimha temple here, and I was wondering, it seems like Narasimha Dev's a little bit out of place here, right? nobody here knows that Krishna's God, and what's going on? Then he said, after some time, I came to realize that, if we really want to understand Vrindavan, especially if we really want to enter Vrindavan, and really relish the leelas of Vrindavan, as we've been requested to discuss tonight, we have to undergo an arta nivritti. And who is there to help us with an arta nivritti better than Bhakti Vighna Vinashaka, Narasimhadev. Once in the beginning of my Saturn period, I made the mistake of going to Mayapur and praying to Ugra Narasimhadev that, please pull out all the stops and do anything necessary to make me Krishna conscious. And he did. So you have to be careful what you ask for. I went through 26 years of hell after that. Anyway, that's because of Saturn or whatever, but Narasimhadev allowed it to happen because I asked for it, right? Sometimes suffering is the only way that we can go through the purification. Not sometimes, a great deal of the time. That's why Shanidev is there. It's not like he's got some separate program from Krishna. He's helping Krishna. When Krishna hands us over to Maya, and Maya hands us over to Shani, and Shani beats the daylights out of us. One astrologer told me that Shani is the last word in karmic dispensation. End of the road. When the buck stops here, as they say. Well, yeah, when it's time to just, somebody's got to give that harsh punishment, it comes down to Saturn. That's what he does. So, anyway, fortunately, Saturn worships whom? Who is Saturn's Ishta Devata? Narasimhadev. Yat pada pallavi yugam vinithaya kumbha dvandve pranama samaye saganadhiraj Vighnan vihantum alam asyat jagatrayasya govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. We could say Narasimham adipurusham tamaham bhajami, but the prayer is in Govinda prayer. So anyway, so this is the point. Bhakti Vighna Vinashaka. Lord Narasimhadev can help us immensely, and Srila Prabhupada also instructed us to worship Narasimha. Since we're in the home of Marathi people, Ganapati, in the old Nectar devotion, that's the pre-edited one, Srila Prabhupada writes that in the beginning we should worship Vaikuntha deities like Ganapati, like Ganesh. And none of us could figure this out. What's he talking about? But actually in his spiritual form, Ganapati is Vishwaksena. And that's whom we pray to when, we in the beginning of all spiritual affairs. Over temples, why would Krishna's temple have Ganapati in the doorway? Because he's also helping in this way. So, anarthanavritti hona chahiye. It's very necessary to undergo this anarthanavritti, to enter Vrindavan. Because we can't really understand much. What does Narottam Das Thakur say about this? Anybody know? There's a song I'm thinking of. How about if I give you a hint? Lal Samai?
Vishaya Charya.
Yeah, Vishaya Charya.
Kabe Suddha Habe.
Shuddha Habeman.
Tabe
Kabe Habe Haramo Shri Vrindavan. I'll see Vrindavan, in fact, when my mind is purified. Have we heard this already tonight? About purifying the mind? Did we hear something about that? What did we hear about that? How does the mind become purified? What do we chant? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. One of the things that I love about ISV is, of course, the temple altar. Everything about that altar I love. And all the persons who are standing on that altar. And all the way on the far left, we have a painting. Who's in that painting and what are they doing? Panchatattva. And what are they doing? They're all ecstatically chanting and dancing. Just like I used to see Vaisheshika do some 40 years ago when he was only 20-something years old. Have I told you this before? On Radha Damodar traveling Sankirtan party, every day at Mangalarti, when you're below 25, everything is an excuse to just get excited and dance, right? So, we would get up at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning, and we would, by the time we got into the temple room at 4:30, everybody was just raring to go. And Vaisheshika Prabhu was not able to restrain himself past the third or fourth verse of the Guru Ashtakam before he just started wildly dancing and jumping high and just, it's like, you've seen, and they have these, what do they call it, rodeos. And they get a mad bull and they release him into the, and he just starts, have you seen this? That's how he would dance. And he had this Vaisheshika smile, comparable to a Vrajadevi smile. Just pure ecstasy, pureness, purity. Just nothing, godly life. And he's been doing this for decades. And, that's why he has such a wonderful community like this one, which is really not that different than Vrindavan if you think about it. So, an Arjuna Vritti, after we get an Arjuna Vritti, then what do we get? What we get, and don't say that, I don't want to hear that. Nishtha, we get fixed. So then we're fixed, and then what happens when we're fixed? What do you have to do? Do you change anything at that point? No? What do? Do you start, then you go to Loy Bazaar, right? No. You just continue the same thing, and then you finally see that, hey, this is like so sweet. And then you realize that, I'm addicted to this. That's called asakti. When Krishna says, we spoke here a few years back, Madchitta Madgata Prana ityadi. Madgata Prana, what does it mean? I can't live without this. It's more personal than that. I can't live without you. When we feel that way about the holy name, then we can enter into ruchi, asakti, and then, hote bhava ho jai, or we get a glimpse of love of God, and like in this painting, you see they've been dancing all night, and it looks like the sun is rising. Time for, maybe it's even past Mangalarchi, no? Mother Yashoda, when she comes to wake Krishna up in the first thing in the morning, I told you this already, Pratah smarami, dadhi ghosha vidhuta nitram. He is one whose sleep is broken. What is his sleep broken by? What sound? Dadhi ghosha mantana, the sound of churning butter. Because all the gopis have these churiyan, right? Glass bangles. When they're churning butter, it makes what sound? Gartal. And what do they sing? Govinda Damodara Madhava. And actually, when I was in college, I learned that these same churiya they found in somewhere in Swat Valley or somewhere in very north of India, from 3,000-4,000 years before. They found the same shards of the same glass bangles that you can purchase in, what did they call that? That bazaar next to the Charminar in Hyderabad. Anybody?
Begum Bazaar.
Yeah, Begum Bazaar. Yeah. Or any other bazaar in India for that matter. Same things. So they're there. The gopis are chanting like this, and Krishna hears that sound, and he thinks, oh, they love me so much. And so he gets up and Pratah smarami dadhi ghosha vidhuta nitram. Nidra avasana, on the occasion when he's a little bit sleepy still, not quite, just like somebody brought Radha in here this evening. So she just woke up, and she's like, you know how they are when they're like all chakar, right? So, nidravasana ramaniya mukhadavindam. Where's mukhadavindam? So listen, next time you call mukhadavinda, think about what you're saying. Nidravasana ramaniya mukhadavindam. At the time that he's just woken up, his face is so delightful to behold. How delightful is that lotus face? Yeah, no, that means delightful, but next line. Hridya anavadya vapusham nayanabhiramam It is a feast for the eyes. A feast for the eyes. Or as Prabhupada writes in the second canto, I think it is, the appearance of the Lord every morning at 7:15 is a festive occasion, especially for the eyes. So, when Krishna comes and sees the gopis, and when the gopis see, here he is, first thing in the morning, then it's a festival for everyone. And this, how is it described? His form is absolutely flawless. You cannot find any flaws in Krishna's form. Every limb is perfect. Everything about him is present. Madhuradhipater akhilam madhuram, Vallabhacharya said. So Hridyanavadyavapusham nayanabhiramam unnidra padmanayanam. Unnidra padmanayanam. His eyes are like lotus flowers that have just woken up. Because the lotus flowers also wake up. When do they wake up? Around that time. Sunrise, when the sun comes out. The sun is called Aravinda Bandhu, right? Anybody know this stotram? Mam punatu sarvada Aravinda Bandhu Nandini. I told you the other night, when you're bathing in the morning, you can think about Yamuna. This is how Rupa Goswami thinks about Yamuna. Pratur antakasya pattane vibhatti harini. She is the person who removes any fear of having to have an interview with her brother. Yamaraj. Yama. You've seen them in Mathura Vishramkar? Two brother sister, very cute. So, yeah, there's a long story about that. Anybody know about, what do you call that? Yamadvitiya? Or it's in Payatuj. You know the story about that?
I just know that Yamuna is doing my wish for Yamuna.
Why? What happened?
I don't know.
Okay, well, you got to help me keep track of my thoughts here, because I'm like 3 diversions away from the point that I'm making. But who is Yamaraj's father? Surya. And who is the mother? No. Sandhya. But how does Chaya come into this? Sandhya couldn't stand. Sometimes women, you can't handle your husband sometimes. We have to be frank and admit it. Even if she put on sunglasses, he was too intense. So she just had to get away sometimes. And so on one such occasion, she didn't want to neglect her duties, because that's never a good idea. Krishna says, you never want to neglect your duty. So she was a very responsible wife, being a demigoddess. So she made a chaya of herself. Deep fake. That's what chaya means, facsimile, no?
Yeah.
She Xeroxed herself or something. I don't know what she did, but and so then she sent Chaya to take care of the kids and cook for their husband and pleasing words and all these things. Meanwhile, she just went and she had a small shruti. So, but Yamaraj, he was sharp. And he could look, the way that she's treating her, she's different now. Something's wrong here. So he got angry when he finally figured out she's not really our mom. And he told his sister, and she said, yeah, that's true. So Yamaraj, sometimes children, when they get mad, anybody with young children, they sometimes want to run away from home, right? So Yamaraj actually tried to do that. It's like in Damodar Leela, he was almost ready to do that. That's why she tied him up. But, so Yamaraj, he went off, and everybody was upset about this, and especially Yamuna, because brother and sister. So she was looking out for her brother, she couldn't find him. And finally she found him, he was there at Vishramghat. And, she said, you got to come home. Everybody's in anxiety about this. Please don't be immature. So she cooked him a bunch of nice things that he liked to eat and all this stuff, and that's where Payaduj comes from. That's why she did this. And Yamaraj was so happy. Kyonki en español dicen, estómago repleto, corazón contento. Iska matlab hai ki, if the stomach is full, the heart is happy. In English, we say the best way to a man's heart is through its stomach. So the logic is like that. So Yamaraj is very happy. He said, you can have any benediction you want. And she said, please benedict me that anyone who steps into my water will not have to meet with you. And he said, well, wait a minute. just as our mother had to do her dharma, I have to do my dharma also, right? So, you can't ask for that. It's unethical. So she said, all right. Then at least on this day, anybody who steps into my water, he doesn't have to worry about you anymore. You release him. That's why people, especially in Braj, it's very popular. Yama Dvitiya, they call it, the second of Yama, or Payaduj means the same thing in Hindi. So, they take bath in the Yamuna, and the sisters will feed their brothers, and the brothers will be happy, and everybody goes back to Godhead, if they're Brajvasis. So, anyway, we got on this topic how? I asked you to help me because... Huh? Yeah.
There's something between asakti and
No.
Madgat Prana.
Yeah, it's good. So we're talking about
Krishna's beautiful.
yes, the gopis, when Krishna wakes up. This is how Aravinda Bandhu is the sun. Because when he comes, the suns all blossom. The lotus flowers, they become happy. They open up. Unnidra Padma, that's called. And what does the word unnidra actually mean literally? Nidra means? Sleep. So they come, they give up, they wake up. This is poetry language, right? Krishna has just woken up. Now the lotuses are waking up also, because the sun is there. So, Unnidra Padmanayanam, this is Krishna. And what does he do then? He doesn't explain any further. He just names the person who's being described here. Navanita Choram. That's what he does. He steals butter. Parsrup Goswami says, Dasi Mathananadait Chaktanidra Prabhate Niprita Padamagaram Ballavinam Pravishtaha Mukha Kamala Shamirair Ashnirvapya Deepan Kavadata Navanitaha Patu Gopala Balam. It means, at the sound of churning butter first thing in the morning, Krishna gets up and very stealthily creeps into the houses of the gopis on his tiptoes, so nobody knows what he's doing. Chup chop. And Niprita Paramagaram Badlavinam Pravishta Mukha Kamala Shamira. Shamira means? Samira. Yeah, breeze. So what kind of breeze? Mukha Kamala. Krishna has a Mukha Kamala. With his lotus breath, he puffs out the ghee lamps. Nobody can see what he's doing. And he fills his mouth with as much butter as he wants. Kavalita Navanita. Patu Gopala Balam. May that Bala Gopal protect all of you, all of us. Jai. So this is Vrindavan Leela, and it happens every single day. And even though the gopis, they go to complain about Mother Yashoda about this antics of Krishna, and Krishna's not satisfied to do it alone. He engages in friends in joining him also. And if the gopis, cause any kind of obstruction, then there's a fight between them. So anyway, you know this. Sanatana Goswami has described all these things very wonderfully in a book that you all sell, or should. Vaishya is in charge of these things. What is that? Dashamacharita, what is it called? Dashamacharita, what is it called in BBT edition? I forget now. Sri Krishna Leelastava. Yeah. So the Sanatana Goswami has summarized the entire 10th canto in short little verses. You can chant them every day. And he's divided them into little sections. Each section is, he calls it a pranama. So 108 obeisances, covering the entirety of Krishna's Vraj-lila. And in this way we can remain in Krishna consciousness. It's like a summary of the Bhagavatam almost, you can say. If if you're too busy to read Prabhupada's books, should not be too busy to read Prabhupada's books. But if you want to get a real fast overview of Bhagavatam, read that. It'll take you through the whole, at least the Vraj-lila. Of course, we have Gopal Champu is in the first part is called what? Gopal Champu? Yeah, Purvartha. First half, second half. We begin with Vraj-lila and then Dwarka-lila. Or we have Vidakta Madhava and we have the Lalita Madhava. Same. So this way our acharyas have given us. But actually all these things are given in Srila Prabhupada's books, but they're not given in a systematic way. Sometimes people come to me and they want to know, how they take these, Bhakti Shastri courses or MIHE courses or VIHE courses and very kind of academic format and very structured and systematic. And why didn't Prabhupada write his books like that to begin with? He could have done that. Think about this. Why do you suppose Prabhupada, he didn't even attempt to, give any kind of systematic overview or anything like that? Why? He told us to do it, that's okay. But he didn't do that himself in his book.
He did not want everyone to be a scholar.
No.
Urgency.
Okay, that's one valid answer.
Devotional service is spontaneous.
We're getting warm. Anything else?
Urgency and adhikar.
Do you want
wanted
to put that together?
He wanted to put in bhakti, making sure everybody got to that point.
Okay, these answers are all pretty warm, but what I'm looking for exactly is that the injunction is nityam bhagavata sevaya. If you read every single day, year after year after year, day after day after day after, you will get everything because it's given there for us. Prabhupada gave us everything, but you have to do it in this way, not in the academic way. This is the devotional way. And ultimately we learn not through scholarship, but through kripa. When I was in college, they gave me a little manual about how to write a thesis. If you want to tackle your subject, this is the mentality. Knowledge is something we tackle. That's not how it works. Knowledge is a great gift that's bestowed upon us. Attitude of humility has to be there. Pariprashnena and sevaya. What kind of sevaya? Nityam bhagavata sevaya. Every day, nityam bhagavata seva. Now what does nityam mean? It means actually constant. Second after second. But if you can't do that, then minute after minute. If you can't do that, hour after hour. If you can't do that, day after day. If you can't do that, then at least regularly. This is why Prabhupada said, by regular attendance in classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam. He didn't give a very systematic format himself. He didn't, he did request us to put these things together. But the point should not be obscured, to say. That the way that we really learn is not by tackling our subject, but we allow our subject to tackle us. We allow ourselves to be, as we discussed the other night, we allow our minds to be stolen by the Srimad Bhagavatam and its content. And that comes by regularly hearing, very patiently, very attentively, very seriously and sincerely. Have you heard these adjectives before tonight?
Yes.
Yes. So in this way, hote, by hearing, that begins the process of bhajana kriya, and bhajana kriya begins the process of an arjanivritti, and then eventually we come to nishtha, then we get the ruchi, asakti, bhava, prema, and at that point then we can really understand what is Vrindavan. That's what the meaning of the song was. What's the other line? Rupa Raghunath Pade Haivi Akuti. Or? Especially we want to understand this dance, Radha Krishna's Rasa Leela then we have to understand it through the lens of the teachings of the Goswamis. And once again, we don't necessarily have to go to Lai Bajar for that. We can read Chaitanya Charitamrita because everything is there, but you have to read it day after day after day after day, and that's what we don't want to do, isn't it? We would rather go to Lai Bajar and just find a quick, easy read, and then, I'm a learned pundit now. People do this. So, the process, in other words, is surrender. Surrender. We've all heard this verse and we've all studied this verse before. I think even here I've spoken on the Satan Prasangan Virya Samvido. There's a very strong connection between that verse and 1, 2, 15, and 16 in Bhagavatam. Because the candidate who has faith and who approaches, who hears in the proper spirit and becomes purified, kramataha, then, this is how we become Krishna conscious. It takes time. We're in here for the long haul. That's what I mean to say. We can't have this impatient attitude, and that's why Rupa Goswami tells us in that Upadeshamrita text 3, what is it? Utsahat, Nishchayat, Taryat, Tat Karma Pravartanat, and Tyagat Stovate. So, the point is that the commentators say, Shraddhadatir Bhaktir Anukramishati. Anukramishati means kramataha. It has to happen over time. It takes time to go back to it. And where do we find this confirmed? In Brahma Samhita toward the end. Anybody know the verse I'm thinking of? Brahma Samhita. It says, bhakti is attained by this constant practice. In slow degrees, we become Krishna conscious. So this is why we come to Guru Puja every day. We bow down at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, and we hear from Narottam Das Thakur about how to become Krishna conscious, and he's telling us Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya Chitete Kari Aitya. Which part don't you understand? It is so clear. And then, he goes on to say, Shri Guru Charane Rati Aishe Tamagati. This is the best thing you can hope for. That everything comes with that. Oh, after some time we'll get it. And then finally we wake up one morning and we're in Vrindavan. And we hear this sound of churning butter. And then we see little butter footprints on the floor. And we have only to follow those footprints, and there he is in all his resplendent glory. Idam te vapurnata gopala balam sada me manasya virastam jilanyehi satyavrata muni place. This iti driksa lila pirananda kundes swaghosham nimajjantam. What does swaghosham mean? Not my sound, my own sound, my own people, my own village, it means. Swaghosham nimajjantam. And drown them all. Where does he drown them? In which kund? In Ananda Kund. That is Krishna consciousness. Nimajjantam. Akyapayantam tadiyeshita jneshu. For these gyanis and yogis and mayavadis and other outside people, this is what Krishna wants to show by these leelas. Hey, look, you can conquer me like these people have. Bhaktairjitatvam. I just can't resist another verse from Bilva Thakur, and then we'll end. What did he say? Yashodaya Gardham Ulukhalena Gokantapashena Nevatyamanam Rurodamandam Navanita Bhoji Govinda Damodara Madareti. It means Yashodaya Gardham Ulukhalena. She has found a very stout ulukhala, grinding mortar, strong thing, not going anywhere. And Gokantapashena Nibatyamana. She's bound him up with a rope for tying cows. tied him up very carefully, very, tightly. He's fixed there. He can't go anywhere. And what does he do, therefore? What happens? Just think about this. What happens when Krishna is tied to this thing? And then, all the girls come by. Same ones, or the women whose houses he's been stealing from all these weeks. Just imagine. Marana atirichyate. Dishonor is worse than death. His friends, the boys, they're coming in, they're all laughing at him, and all the girls are teasing him, and what a humiliation for the Supreme Personality of God. Therefore, he says, Ruro damandam. He's pouting and whimpering and crying, and he's trying to cover the fact that he's crying, because that will make it even worse if they see him crying. Ruro damandam. Navanita Bhoji. Now, what does Navanita Bhoji, the big plunderer of butter, right? The big butter thief. Look at him now. So they're all chanting Govinda Damodar, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti. This is the fun of Vrindavan. This is the bliss of Goloka. This is the ecstasy and the great glory of Krishna's Leela. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can be conquered by his devotee. And this is what we hear in the Bhagavatam. Anybody know the verse I'm thinking of?
10:14:8. Ajita Jita.
Huh?
Ajita Jita, there's two words. I'm forgetting it.
No. Okay, yeah, you're getting warm, but go further. Damodar Leela. And, I'm sorry, in regard to, Balila in general. How about Nayam Sukhapo Bhagavan? What is it? Gopika Dehika, yeah, and party. People who, these are the Tadiyeshu, the Genshus, right? These people who think the body is the self, they're just concerned about spiritual knowledge, but not ready to surrender. They can't understand it, but Nemam Virinchina Bhavo, Nashrirapi Anga Samshaya, Prasadam Lebhire Gopi, Yetat Prabhava Muktida. What did this gopi get from Mukunda, Muktida? What did she get? And which gopi are we talking about, first of all? Who is that gopi? Yashoda. Nemam Virinchina Bhavo, not this guy, Brahma, and neither Shiva. Even Shri, the goddess of fortune, she never got mercy like Yashoda did. Even though she's always on his chest, that's her residence. Srivasa, right? Srivasa, Srinivas. That proves that Balaji is actually Krishna. Prabhupada said the reason he's called Balaji is because he's Balakrishna. Anyway, Nashriyarapyanga Sanchara Prasadam Lebhire Gopi Yatat Prabhat Muktida. She got such mercy from Krishna. Ankakapangshanapam. Rupa Goswami in Padyavali, he offers his obeisances to both Nanda and Yashoda. What does he say for Nanda? It's not his own verse for Nanda. For Nanda, he takes it from Raghupati Upadhyaya. Who knows the verse I'm thinking of? Raghupati Upadhyaya. Famous. Yeah. What does it mean? Sorry, your Tamil, I forgot.
Some people praise the Shruti and some people praise the Smriti all around the world, but he says that I worship Nanda Maharaj, I offer my respects to Nanda Maharaj, in whose courtyard the Supreme Truth is crawling.
Who is that Supreme? Param Brahma. For short, we can call him Param. People ask me for my blessings, so I tell them, Param Vijaya. Conquer this one. You can do it. So, that's how we worship Nanda Maharaj. That's how Rupa Goswami and Padyavali does. So, we're getting a little antsy, so I'll stop here. But how about Yashoda? What does he say about Yashoda? Ankaga pankajanabham navya ghanabham vichitra ruchasachayam virachita jagat pramodam muhur Yashodam namasyami. Again and again, I bow down to Mother Yashoda. Because Ankaga pankajanabham, this pankajanabha, the Lord with the lotus navel, He belongs actually in her lap. Angaga. He goes there. That's where he goes. And Navya Kanabham, she's wearing which color cloth?
Yellow.
Bright yellow. Prabhupada told my god sister Govinda Dasi, you should always wear yellow cloth. He said, Yashoda wears this color, you should wear this yellow because she's Govinda Dasi. Anybody know about Kartamoshai? We were talking Kartamoshai today. Who's Kartamoshai? What kind of Krishna? Yeah, in Kerala. Anybody here from maybe Guruvayur or Kerala? No. They have these statues made out of, kind of like the Bengalis. Kerala people have a lot of similarities with Bengal. That's why so many Bengalis go there, I think. I went to one temple, South Vrindavan, near Trishur. I looked at the book stand, it's all Bengali books. Hey, well, what's wrong here? These guys are all the way on the other side of the country. Anyway, so this deities of Krishna standing like this, looking very proud of himself. Prabhupada used to call him Kartamoshai, which in Bengali means, well, how do you translate it? The big boss, right? Govinda Dasi has that deity that Prabhupada used to worship. Not many people know about this. In the early days, when there were no deities, somehow the devotees found this deity, and they had them all, at least on the West Coast. It was a West Coast phenomenon. In San Francisco, when I first went to the temple, there he was, Kartamashai. And Prabhupada had one in his room also, and he worshipped it for many years in Los Angeles. And somehow or other this, after Prabhupada passed away, this deity, or maybe, I think Prabhupada gave her the deity. Anyway, I'm getting diverted. Vichitra Ruchi Sichayam, she wears this bright yellow cloth. And then what is the third thing? Virachita, what is Virachita? Created, yeah. Virachita Jagat Pramodam. She's the one who created this Jagat Pramodam, bliss for the universe. Therefore, I offer my respects to obeisance to her. This is the conclusion. Okay, I think we should stop now because I don't know what time it is. 8:52, it's pretty late, yeah. I have a missing time experience. When Krishna Katha begins, he just, it's like a missing time experience. You know what that is? Somebody's driving down the street and then, it's like 9 o'clock at night and suddenly, something happens and then it's 11:30. And what happened? UFO abduction. So that's what happens when you start Krishna Katha, you just get abducted from this world and you get pulled into an alternate reality. Believe it or not, one of my professors in college, Professor of Braj, literature, pointed out to us that each of these songs, or these poems, when you read them, it's like they give you a darshan, every verse. It's like a little chunky of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's especially a book like Padyavali, every single verse is like that. You just get sucked into this, bliss, world of bliss. And you get darshan. And if you just absorb your mind in this, you just get pulled deeper and deeper into that world. And that's what we should be doing with our lives. Otherwise, you just get pulled deeper and deeper into the bad association. And I was in, what is that, ECR Road, MGR Road?
Easier.
Yeah, in southern Chennai, just a few weeks ago. We had a Kirtan Mela in Chennai. I promise I'm going to stop now. And I was just appreciating, in that Kirtan Mela, it was just like the Sadhu Sangha we had last year in Dallas. Almost, 50% of the participants were under 20 years of age. Half of them. And again, in Chennai, the same thing happened. All young people and young families and little kids, bliss. All of them, it looked like this, what is her name, Kunjari? I saw she was speeding down the sidewalk on her scooter to Mukhavinda's program the other night. Like a little pixie on a scooter. So, I was going down this ECR road in Chennai, and I'm looking all these restaurants and nightlife places and all these people there. They're all just, absorbed in trying to eke out some material enjoyment from sinful activities. And then I looked at the bus that was next to us, and it's belching out this black smoke all over everybody on the street, and the people there are all sweating and they're all miserable, and then you see these guys on the scooters who work in Shalinganallur in the IT companies for multinationals. They're working onshore, and these guys, they're all in anxiety, and they're all frenetic, and they're trying to meet deadlines, and they're worried about their jobs, and the envious co-workers, and the wife, whether she loves me or not, and all this stuff is going on in their heads. So miserable. And I was just marveling over the contrast in what I'd just seen. People happily chanting Hare Krishna with their families, everybody blissed out. Now, then the next morning, I was staying in Krompet, your hometown, no? So in Krompet, we saw, about 10 in the morning, we took a japa walk after puja, and cows are sitting there, and in the sunshine, because it was winter. For them, at least, it was winter. For us, it was a relief. But for them, it was winter, so they were sitting in the morning sun. And they've got their eyes half closed, and they're all munching on something, and they're waving their tails the way cows do. They're happy. And I just looked at these cows, and I'm thinking, my God, the cows in Krompet are happier than those rascals working for the IT in Shalinganallur. Hang on. And I was just, it was such a contrast. So Krishna consciousness brings us into this world of eternal bliss, where everything is cows. Goloka means cow world. Krishna is not, he's so humble. He gives all the credit to his devotees. It's not even, in his mind at least, it's not even Krishna Loka, it's Goloka. It's all about the love. He loves those cows like anything, and they love him like anything. All the milk, all the butter, it's this exchange of love only. So, anyway, this is our bright future. All we have to do is stay the course, as they say. Push through this anarta nivritti process by very strictly following all the rules and regulations, all the orders of the spiritual master, even the little ones, and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And gradually, we will also end up in Goloka. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Do we have time for questions? Okay, so anybody start with the left.
There is a mic coming.
Yeah, filter cup on,
Or bottled water.
I had typhoid about 6 months ago, and it's still hard for me to get up and down. So I'm very careful about water now. Even in America, it's like it. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. This is the nectar, and you took us to Vrindavan, gave a glimpse of it.
Hey,
A lot to observe, and
Shantaraho.
and since nobody took notes and because during prasadam we will.
No, Srivas Goswami. Somebody went to interview him many years ago, some academic person, and he's trying to record things and get it right on the thing, and Srivas Goswami said, no, it's recorded here. If you just tune in, pay close attention, it will be recorded here.
We'll discuss more, Prabhu, with all the devotees. Thank you so much. I have one question. When you said people who are not doing attentive chanting or not doing things properly, they end up as a mosquito or whatever, an ant or do those things, 8,400,000.
Yeah.
But we also,
Crusty pig in the black nully.
but we also heard that every person has a unique, that rasa with Krishna is already fixed. It's not that we had only discovered that as we progress in our devotional service. Is it something that these are rasas are achievable, or is it already fixed and then we have to just kind of find it?
Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhyaka Bhunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Karaye Udoy. It's not achievable because it's already Nitya Siddha in the heart. But it looks like it's achievable because it's not awakened until you practice this Shravana Kirtana very seriously. So it looks to be something achievable, but in fact it's already there. Prabhupada said, especially in Indians, consider this. He said Krishna consciousness is just underneath the skin. All you have to do is scratch hard enough and it comes out. It's like I was in Chennai, I told you the other day. I came from the Periya coil, in which I had darshan of Periyamma and Periya Peramar. So I just, from there, I went straight into the airport with my bags and I was ready to take my flight somewhere, maybe to Delhi or something. So the lady, a young lady, Tamil security guard, she said, "What's in the bag?" Very kind of, authoritative, intimidating manner. So I just answered, "Chinna Perumal." little Perumal. Little God. How did I get that?
It's already
Yeah,
It's
so
already there.
Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhyaka Punai. There's a little bit of a controversy about this. Because some people say, listen up. Listen carefully. Because somebody will come to you and try to push this on you. You have to be ready for it. Some people say that Nitya Siddha means you have to hear this from a Nitya Siddha, otherwise it's not valid. You cannot, There's some truth in that. But actually it's already in your heart. Nitya Siddha means it's with Nitya Siddha within your heart. It doesn't mean you have to go to a Nitya Siddha and hear it. And then it will be planted in your heart. That's not right. But some people preach that. In Krishna consciousness, the challenges get more and more subtle as we try to advance in spiritual life. And so Krishna sends all these increasingly subtle tests. So if you're not ready, if you're not prepared by having read philosophy, then you're going to get taken out by somebody who's just a clever speaker. So you have to be very ready. So Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhyaka Punai just means that although you have your eternal Krishna consciousness within your heart perfectly situated and it's already there, you're not going to lose it. But we have neglected it for so long that we cannot recognize it any longer, just like a mirror covered by dust, just like a fire covered by smoke, just like an embryo covered by the womb. So this process of chanting Hare Krishna, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye Udai. This thing comes out, the Nitya Siddha Krishna praying comes out when we begin hearing and chanting offenselessly. That's the thing. Is it answering your question?
So does that mean, Prabhu, that our spiritual form is already fixed?
Yes.
We have to only do that with sadhana, we have to discover that.
We just have to discover it. Discover is the correct word.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
You had a question. I like the color of your kurta.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful lecture. I just want to let you know that you mentioned in the class that Shanidev, his master is Narsingadev.
Yes.
In Ahobilam, Prabhu, I went.
Shanideva Krita Narasimhastuti. Anybody heard of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there is Narsingadev is in the center. All Navagrahas is around of the Narsingadev.
South Indian thing in general. Yeah.
Yes, and then also Tirupati, you mentioned, Prabhupada mentioned that Balakrishna. And I talked to one of the priests, he said that the neck, to the belt for the Balaji, it's have a mark on it, like Damodar, like Krishna having it.
Kati Sutra.
Yes. Prabhuji,
Kinkini, they call it. Yeah.
and then when you visited, my fortunate you visited the Goshala Prabhu, that lady, that Sadhu Sangha, with your association, the cop who came visited at the
Sheriff's office.
Sheriff's office.
They send volunteer prisoners to do voluntary labor. in the ISKCON Goshala. And they will definitely make so much advancement. Their whole psychology can change from that purifying association. Cows have this potency.
And she wrote to me today that when is the teacher, your teacher, she said, when he's coming back, I want to attend his classes. I was thinking just Lavana Matra Sadhu Sangha, she just got association of you for only...
Go Dohana Matrahi. Everybody understand this? Go Dohana Matrahi. This is in Bhagavatam. He's praising, who is it? Shukdev Goswami. He only stays in a householder's house long enough to milk a cow. So this lady was with us about that long,
Yes.
and it made a deep impression. Two of them came. You know, another guy was also there. You know, young black police officers. You never see them in ISKCON temples. Okay.
So my question is that I am very selective, I'm becoming very selective to listen only pastimes about cows. In Prabhupada's lectures, I separated, maybe there are 24 Prabhupada talked about our Ashtamam lectures.
Yeah.
And also my absorption, it becomes like always how to make them feed. You know, one cow is very smart, Prabhu. She open all gates night time. You know, so, and I have to go, they turn on the light, I have to go and stop it.
It is so much fun to deal with cows, especially Gir Guy. These big, monstrous cows, they can easily kill you, but they're so gentle and they love to play. We don't get them so much. In Vrindavan, we have the standard, Deshi cows, but it's gone Goshalas. We tend to prefer Gir Guy for some reason. Maybe they're giving more milk, no?
Yes.
Okay, so anyway.
So my question is the absorption.
So much fun, these cows, it's tremendous.
The absorption becoming more unto them, Prabhu, like, even my wife is complaining that, you won't get the food for the cows you get first and then you are bringing for the house.
No, this is proper thing. Traditional people in Hinduism, some of your parents maybe or grandparents, they won't eat anything until they feed the cow. Hang on. This should be so.
My absorption, I just want
After all, do you eat first or do you feed your mother first?
Mother.
Think about it. What kind of mentality does it produce if you eat first and then you feed the cow? Then she remains the cow forever. She'll not be your mother. But if you treat her like your mother, then she is your mother.
Becoming selective on the lectures also, Prabhu, I listen only to, is it
good to be so selective? I don't think so. You have to hear everything. Sarvam etad ritam manye yad mam bharati keshava. And same thing, especially with anything Prabhupada says, it will benefit us only. You have to hear it all. Otherwise, we can get intellectual. It's like being intellectually inbred or something. You only hear the artificial, selection is not good. Anything else?
I got a milk for you, Prabhu, for your deities.
Okay.
Fresh. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So you talked about not studying Prabhupada's books in an academic way and more about Nitya Bhagavata Seva.
Yes.
Could you speak more about what that means practically? Like, is there a certain approach to do that, especially when you're starting?
No, just begin with Bhagavad Gita, finish that, go to Bhagavatam, then Nectar Devotion, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's all, simple. And then there are other books also, you can read those anytime. But these 4 books Prabhupada emphasized, and in that order. And with Bhagavatam, it's not just haphazardly jumping around. Begin with the first canto, then the second canto, then, Kramataka, verse by verse. We have to do it that way, otherwise it doesn't work. And if you're too rushed to do that, you can listen on the recordings are there, and you can hear from Prabhupada. Many of the verses in his books he spoke on, but even those that he didn't speak on, you can hear the translations because there are recordings of those also available. So if you're busy driving, who's not busy driving in the Bay Area? So then you just listen to Prabhupada's books. What else? How else are you going to engage your mind? The billboards are trying to vie for your attention. So, If you're determined to become Krishna conscious, you will find a way to hear. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dapat Pranam. Thank you so much Prabhuji for the nectarian class and taking us into Vrindavan. Prabhu, I have a question on Vrindavan. You mentioned about harsh bliss of entering, the experience of entering in.
That's the best way I can find to describe it. It's very difficult to live there. For the mind, well, put it this way. When I first moved to Vrindavan, I asked Gopi Paranadhan about it. You know, all the difficult, it's like a constant 24-hour assault on all your senses. That's what it's like. And I asked him about that, and he said, well, this is the arrangement of Yoga Maya. It's supposed to be like this. Because, you know, even as it is, there are enough people coming and trying to exploit Vrindavan for sense gratification. Imagine what it would be like if there was no difficulty at all.
Prabhuji, so I have a question on, so one side we hear that, you know, in Vrindavan we should be careful not to stay longer. On one side,
Prabhupada said this many times, and also it's not really for young people to move there. Many of them do, but it's not at all what Prabhupada recommended. Prabhupada wanted Vrindavan mainly for renunciates and for retired people and sannyasis.
Right. So Prabhuji,
other people can visit for a few days, but you know, when we're not prepared spiritually, it's most likely that we're going to commit offenses. That's why we often see that when people go to Vrindavan, they get sick. It's a reaction. And fortunately, that's how you expel that reaction.
Yes. So my question was actually on the similar lines. Maybe, I mean, we don't have adhikar and to go there or settle, but once a year or, you know, following in the footsteps of great devotees like Vaishashina Maharaj or Idarumi Maharaj, like, you know, devotees go and stay for a month. Is it advisable, or do we need some level of advancement before we can plan to stay, let's say for a month and, you know, study long hours and then visit dhams? Or is it, what is your advice, Prabhuji?
It depends on your individual adhikar, and this is one of the many reasons that we have gurus to guide us in these practical sorts of choices that we have to make. So that's a question for your spiritual master or for your whoever your shiksha gurus are.
Thank you.
I just want to share one experience on staying in Vrindavan. Anyhow, I was there for a few weeks, and once while going away from, you know, while coming to the ISKCON temple, I saw a Brijvasi who was wearing a kantimala and he was smoking bidi. I became very upset. I said, Brajvasi ho ke bidi pite ho? What is this? Band karo. So I scolded him. And his wife also supported me. Anyhow. His wife was right there. So then he immediately said, chhod diya, maine aapse chhod diya. I gave it up. But then that very night I got the instant reaction for that. Because one Brajvashi scolded me because there was one small kind of container, you know, on the side of the road. I just put, I was drinking milk and I just put that cup in that. And he said, "Kahan se aa jate, you know, from where you get the dimag for faltu bhara hua hai, go mata ke liye hai, this is for go mata, you know." How would I know this is go mata? There is no label.
Tu kis kheti muli ho?
So the point is, so my understanding was that after that, even if it's a Brajvasi who is trying to do some nonsense, better not say anything.
Yeah, we have to be so careful. This is a very, very important point because we really do some wild things in Vrindavan, believe me. This is another thing that will challenge your faith. The local people, you know, they're generally good. And, you know, like crimes and things like that, that's mostly coming from the outside ones. The people coming from Agra or from Delhi or other places. And there are seasonal parasites also that come from outside, particularly to rob people. It happens that way. But the Brijavasis are generally nice, but still they're inconceivable, and we have to remember that. But, you know, they have this love of Godhead is, you know, it is so deep, and it's just very hard for us to understand. I'll give you one example. I went to buy some perfume from oils from K.C. Pandey, Matan perfume, right across the street from Krishna Balaram Temple. It's probably the best place to get oil in India. And I asked him for his best oil, and he said, well, who deserves the best oil? I told him, Bal Gopal. And he said, what's Bal Gopal holding in his hand? I said, some people say it's laddu, some people say it's butter. He just said, they're all wrong. He's holding the world in his hands. Who can think like this? Another occasion, one godbrother went to the what is that place called in where everybody goes to, anyway, the Usha fan store. He went to get a fan for his ashram, so he wanted to have a new Usha fan. So the guy said, okay, there's one with a 7-year guarantee and there's one with a 5-year guarantee. Which one do you want? He said, oh, I'll take the 7-year wallet. But he said, well, actually that previous customer just took the last one. So somehow my godbrother's mind became attached to getting a 7-year. So then he said, well, can you maybe like order one from Mathura, or, I can come back and get it later, or, something like this. So the shopwallah, being a Brijwasi, said, hey, you don't even know we have 5 or 7 minutes. What do you want 5 or 7 years? They're not ordinary people. Who wrote all these things on the wall? Sri Radha. Who did this? And why? Who was it who wrote on one wall I saw? Chinta mat kara, chintana kijiye. Who wrote that? These people are not ordinary people, and we have to be extremely careful because, even they're smoking biddies and, whatever they're doing. When we go back to Godhead, we have to be ready for that because Krishna can do much worse than they can. I asked one devotee, how do these monkeys get to be so nonsense? So that, there's really monkeys like personification of the mind. I asked him, how did they get to be so mischievous? He said, everybody knows Krishna trained them.
So this same guy, he was almost ready to hit me. So I was trying to reason with him.
Yeah.
So almost ready to hit. Then he made me, take it out. He said, don't do it again. So, but the same guy, is the same person. I saw him, play video games all day long. So the point is, even if he's doing all this nonsense, he is a Brijvasi. His how is so great.
Yeah, the plow. This is what we don't see.
Yeah.
But it's there. Raghunath Das Goswami. Does anybody know his prayer? Even if they fill my ears with gossip all day long, even if they're ripping me off, even if whatever they're doing, still I worship these people. Because, they're Krishna's Swagosham Nimajjama Kyapayantam. Ananda Kunde. These are the people that Krishna loves more than anyone. And Krishna will do anything for these people. You offend them, you're out. You have to be so careful. And I've seen it happen. There are many people come to try and live in Vrindavan, they can't stay. Either from their anarchas pull them out, as we discussed, or they commit some, more likely they commit some offense.
Or they become sick.
Yes. So therefore we always pray, that to Srimati Radharani especially, she's the one who really decides if you stay or go. So we have to be very careful. Yeah.
So, thank you for your wonderful class, Prabhu. Krishna. My question was actually just what you were mentioned about that.
Slow down, I can't hear.
So my question was just about what you mentioned. You said that bhav part, right? So my question is simple, that staying outside Vrindavan and doing your sadhana, can it automatically convert into that bhav, or do you have to keep trying at some point of time to go to Vrindavan and test it out and see if you're getting there and then come back and then keep... How does it actually work out? Mechanics.
This is another thing, we have to discuss with our spiritual advisors, especially our spiritual master or whatever shiksha gurus we have. Because it's, you can't really give us a one-size-fits-all answer. It all depends on the individual. Everybody's different.
Okay, so let me change that question slightly. It is said that to go to Goloka Vrindavan, you need to get that raga mood to be following a ragatmik bhakta. If you do just a straight sadhana, you may or may not end up in raganuga unless you try for it or do some more.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have to make that effort, or you don't make that effort and it will suddenly happen?
We have to understand how Krishna consciousness works. It depends on what you want. If you're okay going to Vaikuntha, that's fine. Really, a sobering thing is to study Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, in which Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes all the different, I want to say, results of various kinds of Krishna consciousness that we might cultivate. If we're just cultivating empty-headed Krishna consciousness, and not really thinking anything about, what love we're developing, then we'll go to the heavenly planets because that's more likely than anything what we want. If we're cultivating Gyan, on the other hand, then we go to the Brahmajyoti and we disappear. And if we're cultivating Vaikuntha Bhav, especially Vaidhi Bhakti, then we will go to Vaikuntha most likely, or someplace very much like it. And if we're cultivating Raganuga Bhakti, then we'll go to Goloka. But we have to be clear about what we want. Here's what I would say in answer to your question, which may make sense. A well-stated question is already half answered. You catch my point? It means you have to know what you want. If you know what you want and you focus on that thing, then you're good. But you have to be very careful. Like I told you about my own experience with Lord Narasimha. You have to be very careful what you ask for, because he'll give it to you. We ask Krishna for the wrong things, then you end up with something temporary, and what good is that? Then you die. You had your fun. Narasimha gave you a little nothing, But that's why we have to be very, very pointed in our devotion, very focused and very sincere and progressive, so that we can go back to Godhead in Goloka Vrindavan, if that's what we want. Some people may be like, this is your question, no? Is your rasa fixed? Somebody may figure out that actually I want to go to Vaikuntha, there's nothing wrong with that. Somebody else wants Ram, somebody else wants Jagannath, somebody else wants Gopal, somebody else. The best thing is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the really special thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving is this Ujjvala rasa. So that Madhurya rasa, worship Radha Krishna in the rasa lila. That's the pinnacle of everything. But what do we want? It's up to you. Is it clear?
Yeah, thank you. So if I can state that in one sentence, without Raganuga, there is no way you can go to Vrindavan. Is that a good synopsis?
Yes.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
But people have misconceptions about Raganuga that need to be unraveled and resolved. So we should not misunderstand that. It's very difficult to understand these things. That's why I said in the beginning, you have to check with your spiritual master and be guided. Either your Diksha Guru, or we have Shiksha Gurus also. In the absence of the Diksha Guru, that's very essential. Okay, anything else? Yes.
Mike.
As a follow-up to offenses to Vrindavan Vasis, I think every time we went there, we either made offenses verbally or in the mind. I just wanted to clarify this. On philosophical point of view, one can say it is inconceivable, and probably it is. Is there any way to understand little more deeper, as maybe some of them are, as they say, there is a wheel on Vrindavan, maybe some of them are in Vrindavan, but they are not really Vrindavan. Is there some
Okay, here's the thing. Yeah, there's a spectrum. There's always a spectrum. There's always all different kinds of everybody, anywhere, right? That's variety. In Vrindavan also, some people are Nitya Siddhas. They're Nitya Parishads. They're extremely advanced, personal associates of the Supreme Lord. We don't know who they are. Like that Tulsi Doha. Tulsi is samsara mein sabse miliya bhai, na jane kis roop mein Narayana mil jaye. You know, I mean, the principle is not Mayavad, but the principle is that you don't know who you're dealing with, especially in Vrindavan. So you have to be very careful. Some people are not Nitya Siddhas, but they're Sadhana Siddhas. They may be, say, on their last birth here in home of Vrindavan, and then they go back to Goloka. That also happens. Because when we become perfectly Krishna conscious, we take one human birth in Vrindavan. And after that, if we don't mess up, then we go back to Godhead. Other people, they may have come to that point, and then they commit offenses and they mess up and they go down again. Those types are also there. Some people are going up, some people are going down, it's hard to say. And some people are from outside, but they're visiting and they're very sincere. And you don't want to offend them either. And some people are from outside and they're not sincere, they're here to rob you. So, it's all different kinds you have to consider. So that requires a great deal of discrimination, which we don't have when we're Kanishta Adhikaris. So therefore, this is one of many, many reasons that Prabhupada warns us, do not try to go to Vrindavan prematurely. If anything, you can go to Mayapur. The offenses are not going to hurt you so much. But in Vrindavan, it's serious business.
So our attitude towards, because we cannot distinguish who they are.
Yes.
Should we
up high. That's the point.
not, from a, we shouldn't argue with them, like sometimes we are bargaining with them.
You have to do that or you're going to be ripped off. But you always have to remember, you be very careful not to
But
offend.
not emotional.
Yes.
Thank you.
The real problem is this, that somebody's trying to rip you off. No, most likely he's not going to give Brajavati, but even if he is, then you really suck. What can you do? Not much.
So we do what is necessary, but not really from the heart. We are not.
Everything is from the heart. But you have to use your brain also. It's like Janardhan Maharaj. He said this very nicely that some people have this T-shirt you've seen.
I lost my heart.
I lost my heart in Vrindavan. So he said, other people it's more like I lost my brain in Vrindavan. These are the people who are going to, buy their Govinda Leelamritas first thing. And then they know everything about Vrindavan and these people are not sincere. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. This question answer is very good. So one point is our spiritual form is fixed and we have to discover. Second line of thought is unless you get to the Ragatmika Bhakti, you're not going to Goloka Vrindavan.
Yes.
And the third point is Prabhupada and everybody writes, all our acharyas, that you should never worry about even going back to Goloka Vrindavan, but you always think of serving Krishna in a pleasing and a loving way. And wherever Krishna puts.
Where do they say that? Where does it? Who says that? Where?
That we should.
Never worry about going to Vrindavan.
In the lectures and in the.
You want to name one? Read Bhagavad Gita chapter 17, text number 15, purport. Anybody have it ready? Somebody can bring it up and read it for us, because it's very instructive in this regard. 17.15. Yes. Anurvega Karam Vakyam. Just the purport only. You don't have to read the verse.
Purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students. But such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students, if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense.
Here's the point. Read on. I'll give them.
The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. One should not at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one should derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech.
So the point here is that if we're going to say something about Krishna consciousness, we have to be prepared to back it up. And that's not possible if you're not reading Prabhupada's books. So I caught you.
Maybe want to support that where we sing in the Guru Puja, Janme Janme Prabhu Se.
Okay, let him finish his question, because I cut him off.
Yes, and the same thing like where this we pray for like birth after birth.
Okay.
Birth after, I'm just supporting his argument. Like,
Okay, but that doesn't say that we should not aspire to go to Goloka.
Correct, yeah, that's true.
Okay. So I'm being a little hard on you.
No, thank you, bro. This is the question is meant for that. So, how do we hold these three type of arguments?
You have to reconcile.
Yeah.
This is a very, very, very important point, so everyone please listen carefully. In Prabhupada's books, we find all kinds of contradictions. All kinds. And that should not, discombobulate our faith and confuse us and, make us run off and join some other group. Contradiction is the nature of Krishna consciousness. The absolute truth is achintya bheda bheda. So there must be contradictions. But when we accept a bona fide spiritual master, all the contradictions galvanize around his order, and they all become thoroughly consistent and cohesive. And therefore, when we find contradictions at that point, we have to find a way to reconcile those contradictions. And that is a process called pramana. And pramana is the number one absent factor from modern Hinduism that makes it the mess that it is. If Hindus had simply held tight to the bona fide system of praman taught by their forefathers, which is basically explained in C.C. Madhya Lila chapter 20, text number 352, wherein Prabhupada says the sadhu shastra guru vakya chitete korya aikya. We have to judge a thing by the statements of Guru Sadhu Shastra. And then he goes on to explain that the actual center of all those three is Shastra, Shastra Yonidvat, and I mentioned the other night, books are the basis. Then we're able to reconcile the contradictions that we hear. But if we're not, I want to say, facile enough with the Shastra because we're not reading, we will not be able to do that. And we'll get confused. So it's a very, very important thing. This is a philosophical principle. We are duty bound according to this 17.15 purport that we just heard to be, well, put it this way. Prabhupada told us, just memorize my books and speak nothing but that. And if you notice, by reading Prabhupada's books, that's what he does throughout his books. Nothing that he says anywhere cannot be traced to another verse somewhere else in the Vedic literature. And if you've read them enough, you know where to go. You know where it is. I can read any purport and every single sentence that Prabhupada says, I can trace it out to the other source. This is what it means. So we have to, in other words, you should know my books as well as a lawyer knows his law books. This is what Prabhupada said. And he said it more than once. And at the same time, he criticized about us, his disciples, that, that we think that the books are only meant for selling. We don't realize that they're meant for us to read. And in fact, if we did read the books as much as Prabhupada wanted, we would be able to sell more of them also. This whole community is here because one man decided to do that. And that is Vaisheshika Prabhu. He decided that he was going to read Prabhupada's books, and you're all here for that reason. Hey, no? Everybody says. Everybody's telling me if it wasn't for Vaisheshika, I don't know where I would be. So, this is the point. Read these books. You have to read these books and you have to learn these books. It's absolutely imperative. All of the problems, practically speaking, that we see in today's world are because people are not hearing from authority. Have you actually finished your question yet?
So Prabhu, as part of our reading, we have come across, I cannot quote right now, but maybe I can bring after some
Fair enough.
research.
I'll be reading.
So, a devotee should not be very eager to going back to Godhead, but the service.
Okay, yeah, I catch the drift. Prabhupada, somebody asked Prabhupada about this. We hear this like, Mama Janmani Janmanishwari Prabhatad Bhakti Rahaita Gita Tvai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praying like that. We have to pray within our actual adhikar. And Prabhupada told us, no, that's not for you to pray like that. You should pray to go back to Godhead. He actually said that. And, so this is another reason I told him also that we have bona fide spiritual masters who can guide us correctly and can train us up in these ways. Is it clear?
Thank you, Prabhu. So the summary is basically we should aspire to go back to Godhead, and we should also take up to the.
We should understand the ideal, but for the meanwhile, we should aspire to get out of this world and go back to God. Even liberation, Prabhupada wasn't thoroughly discouraging. If it's Vaishnava liberation, he said we should try to go back to Godhead. Because where are we now? What's our option? We'll go to Fremont. We're in Fremont, right?
Yes.
So we'll go to San Jose. or Dublin or something.
Thank you.
So for us, the sway adhikare yanishka sadguna parikirtara. A person should act within his own adhikar, and he should pray within his own adhikar, and he should go for that. And that's what gurus are for, they help us with that. Okay? That's another reason why, Sri Guru Charana Padma Devada Bhakti Sadhana. No other questions? One, you really
I
want
have
to raise hand.
maybe it's funny. Prabhu said that he saw Brajavasi playing video games. So, what is the difference between a Brajavasi playing a video game and here our kids playing video games?
Well, that's not conceivable to us. We don't ask that question because we can't understand it.
The results I was wondering.
The results.
Yes. The consequences.
It all depends, because sometimes it's somebody engaged in Leela with Krishna. How do you know Krishna's not riding a scooter along with little Kunjani? You don't know. So, how do you know Krishna's not playing with video games? You don't know what he's doing. He can do anything he wants. Anyone been to Mannargudi, Tamil Nadu? Once a year he goes out in the streets and just throws butter on everybody, and everybody throws butter at him. It just makes a huge mess. So he has to come and clean up all that. This is what you can do for God. You can do anything you want. So we don't question so much. If there's no other questions, did you have something to say now? Okay. I think we need to end because it is getting late and the wife is showing me the phone. So thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Somebody, Mataji is showing it for to play video games.